Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my training logs. So right now we're essentially starting from a ways back anyways, starting the prep for Worlds in November. That's gonna be my next meet. It'll be in Dubai, and that'll be the Equipped Open World Championships. So after the meet, I did a couple weeks of washout here after Nationals. If you haven't watched our wrap-up video on that, go ahead and check it out. After that, I took a 2-week washout as per usual, and then decided to get right back into the equipment. Things are still feeling pretty good. I'm still feeling pretty fresh for the most part, so we've decided to continue the equipped training. We'll probably do a raw block in between, and then another equipped training block leading into Worlds, obviously. So that's, kind of the plan for now. And doing some interesting things in this block, definitely. We're doing a lot of singles. My comp work in my equipment is going to be all singles. So I start off with a single at 8, and then 5 or 6 singles at a lower percentage after that. And that's pretty much all I'm doing for my 3 equipped lifts. So my day 1 is squats and bench. And last week I hit a 335, I believe, kilo squat. So that was about 5 kilos more than I had in mind when I went into the gym. But my last warm-up with 315 or 310 just felt really, really good. It felt smooth. It felt light on my back, which is really nice coming back in. Generally, things feel a little bit heavy, but I've started to accumulate a little more experience now with those heavier weights on my back, so things feel a little better. So yeah, 335 and then a bunch of singles around 310, I think. So this block definitely going to focus on at least making sure that my singles at an 8 that are heavy enough are going all the way to depth, and I mean nationals depth. Don't want to get caught out having to kind of bury things or squat differently than I do in training, so I'm trying to squat deeper in training as a way to sort of better prepare for Worlds and be ready to, squat the same way I squatted in training, but get those 3 white lights. Moved on from there to my bench, and my shoulder's been a bit of an issue over the washout. I ended up kind of coming out of Nationals. I was strong at Nationals, but I definitely didn't bench well. My benches were pretty choppy. My shoulder positioning was poor. And because, those were obviously, somewhere between 95 and 100%, I ended up with a fair bit of shoulder pain afterwards, a little bit of difficulty moving it and getting into the positions I needed to, specifically to bench. It takes a little bit of warm up to get into my squatting, but it generally feels okay for that. So kind of easing my way into it with the bench shirt work on Monday. Ended up taking 220 for a single, and it was a little bit choppy, but it felt okay on the shoulder. And then took a whole bunch of singles at I believe 205 afterwards, and those are just going to maybe 1-2 board. Again, sort of a lower percentage for these singles, so not getting a touch, not forcing a touch with that lightweight, because you just have to give up too much position. I moved into my deadlift day, and with my deadlifts right now, I'm really trying to focus on getting that last little bit of extension, and I think that bit of back extension was what was lacking from that 400 kilo attempt. So I think if I can better create and hold that extension, I'm not going to miss those heavy attempts at the top like I did. I think I've started to rely on a little bit of flexion in my low back to help me speed the bar off the floor a little bit. So I'm just trying to iron that out. And I feel like I did a really good job with my 350 single that day. It really, really moved. Probably undershot RPE on that by a bit. It's probably closer to a 6.5 or 7. But I think that was a good sort of reintroduction. Everything felt really snappy. Definitely dealing with a fair bit of the equipment burn. The gear itself, really digging in and rubbing the skin raw with that many singles, and the wraps, doing that many wraps on Monday. So kind of easing my way back into things, getting used to it. I believe I went on to do some close grip bench. The other thing I'm doing a lot of right now is 12s. That's Mike's new favorite rep range for hypertrophy. He and I chatted a little bit about exertion load, and I can maybe try to remember to post a link to the article that he and I talked about. But essentially it's to sort of correlate the difficulty or effectiveness of a set, not necessarily with the overall volume, but with the amount of volume above a certain RPE. And there's a very complex looking equation to sort of give us an exertion load that will help us sort of decide how many of those reps per set we're actually contributing to the desired adaptation. And in this case, it's hypertrophy. So 12s, anyways, long story short, long way of saying that 12s are a very big part of my program right now. So day 2 went on to some close grip 12s, and then safety bar reverse lunges, which are it's a love-hate relationship. It's a personal favorite of mine, I guess. But there's just something about it that leaves you real sore the next day in a good way. My day 3, I was doing safety bar squats for 12s and just really using a narrow stance, trying to really bury them and work a lot on getting, making them as challenging as I can for my quads. That was, I think, Mike's intention with those, and utilizing that movement specifically. So ideally, we see a lot of growth out of my quads. Touch and go bench after that, hit a really nice single at 165. I was happy with that. I know my shoulder, like I said, has been a bit of an issue, but getting into this session, it felt quite good and the weight moved really well. So I think that part of the sort of rehab, if you want to call it that, is getting it strong again and using it. I also went on, my last movement that day would have been my overhead presses, and those felt kind of terrible in the moment. I had to make some changes to how I was doing them. I narrowed my grip quite a bit and really had to focus on sort of how my shoulders were positioned throughout the lift. But I noticed after those, leading into my fourth session, and even carrying on to today, it's Monday of the next week now, I noticed a really big decrease in the amount of pain and restricted range of motion that I have after those overhead presses. So they seem to be quite productive in terms of helping me get back to fully functioning and feeling less pain in the shoulders. So I'm happy about that and looking forward to keeping them incorporated, because I feel like the positive effects have lasted from week to week. So hopefully I can build on that and help to essentially rehab my shoulder just doing some overhead pressing. So day 4, I didn't film anything, but I ended up doing some snatch grip stiff leg deadlifts. Had a little bit of a pull in one of my hamstrings, working with getting a new athlete into a bench shirt, and just kind of called it there. I think I worked up to about 140, 150 kilos, and then had to drop back and do my last 2 sets about 120 kilos. So it was what it was. I also got in the slingshot that day. And decided to use the slingshot because it gives me a lot less than the ram. So just for novelty's sake, doing something a little bit different. And yeah, the difference between those 2 pieces of equipment is actually pretty astounding. I feel like the slingshot just kind of felt like a wet noodle, like it wasn't really giving me much. So pretty great start to training, getting back into things, getting moving. The body for the most part feels really good, and I'm happy with this starting point for the block. I've got hopefully some big numbers in mind for the end of the block. We'll see how it all goes throughout, obviously. But the body's holding together. Things feel good post-meet. I'm excited to push forward and see what I can do at Worlds in Dubai. So definitely stay tuned if you're interested in following along with that. We've been working a lot, and I mean a lot, on the documentary lately. We're getting close to some of the final versions being, sort of on the chopping block at this point. End of April, I believe we have picture lock, which means that we can change no more of the visual of the documentary itself. So really kind of burning the midnight oil at this point, putting the finishing touches on things, and we're really excited to bring that to you guys probably in July. Dylan? Yeah. So in July, we're hoping to have that hosted on our channel. We're going to do a version for TELUS, and then as soon as we can, we're going to put our own sort of director's cut with some of the restrictions removed on our own channel to give a bit of a director's cut, or a bit of a better interpretation or example of what we want out of it. Just a reminder, if anybody wants to come out and see us in the UK, we're going to be in Basingstoke on April 25th, 26th, I believe. We're going to be in Edinburgh May 4th and Glasgow on May 5th. So head over to calgarybarbell.com, go to our coaching store to buy tickets for those seminars if you're interested. And that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Definitely stay tuned to the channel. We have some more great content coming up. Hoping to get back into the equipped stuff and put out some more informational videos very, very soon. So we'll see you guys then. Thanks for tuning in and take care.